Hey, everybody. Christopher Mad Dog Russo here, host of Mad Dog Unleashed, heard only on Mad Dog Radio, Sirius Channel 123, XM 144. We're down to the final 5 of Mad Dog Radio's So You Think You Can Talk sports contest. Each contestant had an hour of Mad Dog Unleashed to showcase their skills. Let's take a listen to what each contestant had to offer. And first up was Joe PISANO. He kicked off the show in the 2 o'clock Eastern hour on Friday. Listen up.
So, big Jets fan. Revis is out. He needs to come to camp. Revis, if you're listening, you need to come to camp. You're too good of a player to do this kind of stuff. You know, it's a different time. Don't compare yourself to crazy, insane contracts that should have never been written. And really the reason why we're possibly going to have a work stoppage next year is because of those type of contracts. So don't think that you should be put in that pool. You know, play another year. You're a one-hit wonder, and literally you were great last year. But play another year, have 2 years of just unbelievable performance under your belt, and New York will be yours. I mean, endorsements, the Jets will open up their purses and give you everything you want, but you got to have those 2 years of just unbelievable performance. And I know it's like, well, what if I get injured? How many times does a cornerback get injured in the NFL? I mean, and how many times is it career-ending? So anyway, he's got to get to camp, and that's all I got to say about that.
Next up is Nick Vella. Let's hear a little of Nick.
And when I talk about money, and when I talk about the greed and the insincerity of the NCAA, let me talk to you about these conferences, these super conferences that are happening and forming right before our eyes. Before you know it, the NCAA is going to be making billions, not millions, listeners and fans of college football, billions on TV contracts and these so-called super end-of-the-year championship games, okay? And they're talking about, hey, we know what's best for you, and we understand it. The way we're going right now, the NCAA will have a Pac 100, a Big 150, and a Wild West of 1,000 teams. You're going to have 100 bowl games, and there's going to be the Toilet Bowl. There's going to be the BF Oil Slick Bowl, and any bowl that you can put a tag on, they're going to have, because they're going to have absolute power. And that is the problem. Do you think the NCAA cares about student athletes? Well, why don't you look at the contract and actually look at the ESPN guide this year? They've got games on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and yes, fans and listeners, they have games on Sunday. Tell me, when all those kids of the team that are traveling, missing classes, missing tests, missing examinations, how is that benefiting the schools? How is that benefiting the student athlete? Please tell me, because I'd love to know.
Jim Murray followed Vella. Here's Jimmy.
Do you want to talk about Revis? I'll talk Revis. I personally think that Darrelle Revis should hold out. I think that he should get paid. And if Mike Tannenbaum and the Jets brass aren't going to pay Darrelle Revis and he sits out by week 3, I know there's a lot with Hard Knocks, the hype surrounding the Jets right now. I think it's justified. It's been one of the most, if you're a Jets fan, you've got to be out of your mind excited about going into this season. Sanchez, I don't think he's going to have a sophomore slump. They made more moves to stack that team this year. During the wintertime, it seemed like every other week, I'm like, they got Santonio Holmes? And my girlfriend would come into the room and I'd be screaming about something. She's like, what happened? Did your cat die? Is your dad having a heart attack? I'm like, no, the Jets just got Santonio Holmes. And they got Antonio Cromartie. So as a Patriots fan, I can tell you, and it'll probably make you Jets fans tingle, I'm terrified of that team. But the Jets are always snake bit. So does it end up being like week 1 of 1999 when the expectations coming out of that 98 season for the Jets, everyone thought in 99 the Jets were going to make a run to the Super Bowl. Week 1 against the Pats, Vinny Testaverde's Achilles heel, and there goes the season.
Here is LINNY Sullivan, a little of what she sounded like.
I would actually go, as far as to say is fear is what's actually holding or making Brett Favre come back, year after year, and sort of holding the sports world hostage every summer. He's afraid of the unknown. It can be motivating. Where all he's done is play football for the better part of 30 years, if not more, from Pee Wee football on. And, now, should he retire? He probably should. But he's afraid of what comes next. What are you going to do after this? You can only do so many Wrangler commercials. You can only, throw to so many high school practices, and what's he going to do after this? It's a fear thing. it's the same way. I mean, the guy holds, not physical fear, because, I mean, he holds every record, known to the football world, or the football, quarterbacking world. And, clearly going out in front of, linemen who are 300 pounds, he's not physically afraid of them. But what's he going to do later? What's he going to do after this? And not many people get told at 40 that you're too old to work. That you can't do the thing that you've loved to do and you've made your career on for the last, 20 plus years. That's not normal, for most people. And so, he's sort of in uncharted territory a little bit there. Not much, because, Jerry Rice, he was told he was too old and everything like that. But this going back and forth every year, I think that his has to do with fear more than anything else.
And finally, Josh Bertaccini. Take it away, Josh.
We begin with the inevitable hammer falling upon the Rocket. And we knew this one was coming for quite a while now, but that doesn't, for me at least, make it any less of a stunner. A superstar player, a superstar pitcher, unlike any the sport has really seen over the past 40 years. And he is now indicted by a federal grand jury and will probably be facing himself some prison time when things go to trial here coming up real soon. Now, I don't think anybody really believed Roger when he was telling the folks that, he never used steroids. He never used performance enhancers. And why he was so eager to get in on things and to tell people that when he wasn't even required to do so, I still have no idea. Awful legal advice, to say the least. But the fact remains, in the steroids age, instead of knowing, we have to speculate. And so with Clemens, the speculation has to start at the end of his Red Sox tenure, when he was a below 500 pitcher, when he was struggling with the strike zone, when his velocity was down around 90. And then what do you know? He goes to Toronto, and suddenly, overnight, he's got it all back and more. Winning 20-plus games, the ERA falls down close to 2. That doesn't happen naturally. That doesn't happen normally at the age of 35. So clearly you've got to be skeptical of the Rocket's story right from the get-go. The Rocket is in trouble big time.